football is not making it out of the hood, and we just get constantly disappointed every single week. This week, it's going to be probably like a 3-hour podcast. It's definitely going to be at least hour and a half, 2 hours. It's going to be our longest podcast, and it's going to be all conversation. We're just going to lament about the state of Russian football. We have some funnies sprinkled in between. But if you want to get existential, if you want to be sad, a bit melancholy about Russian football, this is the podcast for you. Just turn it on, get some sad music playing, and you will have a blast. This week I'm joined by my co-host Artem. Artem, what's up? How you doing? How you feeling?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good as well. I'm good as one can be in the circumstances. My football clubs and my sport clubs keep letting me down. We'll get into them in a minute because um, if there's one club that's been doing worse than the Russian ones, it's Real Madrid. So we'll get to them in a second as well. But it's actually been 9 days since we last recorded, so we have to give the audience some backstory, some perspective. We did the stream and the podcast last Tuesday, and it's Thursday today. So this means that on the podcast we haven't actually covered the first match day of the Champions League and the Europa League. We also haven't covered the last RPL match day, and we also haven't covered the match day of the Champions League that just went. So we're gonna start off and give you an overview of the results and put everything into a bit of some perspective. And actually, you know what? We're gonna start with the RPL because the Champions League is a wider topic, and we can discuss the teams that are not in the Champions League first. So the RPL, it was quite an interesting week. Dinamo Moscow beat Sochi. They have their new manager. Szymanski had a mad game. Zenit lost to Rubin Kazan. We'll get to that in a second. Lokomotiv lost to Rotor. But Artem, are there any games here that don't involve the Champions League teams that you want to discuss?
That don't involve the Champions League teams.
Yeah.
No, but I think that there's a few games that we should discuss. Like for example, like Spartak Moscow against Krasnodar. Okay, there's a Champions League team in there, but Spartak
Yeah,
are the ones who
exactly.
came out on top.
Yeah, so of course they did. We'll get to that. Do you want to discuss like CSK, Arsenal 2 or something? Is Vlasic the best player in the league, number one, you think?
Uh,
Undisputed.
he really showed his class at the weekend. So I can't argue against it. Is what I'll say. Like I
Right.
think that there's definitely some amazing players out there, but I think Vlasic is definitely
Number
up in
one.
the top three, if not the top one. Yeah.
That's fair. Luka Djordjevic, by the way, guys, scored his first goal in over a year and a half. So congratulations to him. Very nice
Respect.
seeing him back on the pitch and scoring. So let's get started with the discussions right away. We'll get to Zenit and Ruben. We'll start with Zenit, then we're going to discuss Loko, and then we're going to discuss Krasnodar, then we're going to discuss the entirety of Russian football. Then we're going to discuss Orenburg, and then we're going to discuss whatever else we have left, right? So Zenit, their first game in the Champions League was against Bruges, and if I can find it, can I find it? Can I? There you go. No, that's not Zenit. Zenit Club Brugge Club Brugge took the lead. Emmanuel Denis scoring. Then Lovren scored a banger. By the way, guys, I have indeed dropped my Lovren agenda. Um, I have decided to end it early because I think Dejan Lovren has been fairly good so far. He was good against yesterday against Dortmund, and I think he's been decent so far. If he makes a horrendous mistake or anything, my agenda will be back as good as it ever was. But Artem, what were your thoughts quickly on this game? The way it ended, Zenit lost quite cruelly. And what was your mind state then? And also, what do you think of me ending my Lovren agenda?
I thought that, to be honest, Zenit were absolute trash in that game. Like
Right.
they just never looked like the better team at any point, and it's really disappointing to see because Club Brugge are the team that we should have really targeted at the start of
Yeah.
this Champions League campaign, seeing like these could be the team that we could get 3, 4, 6 points off, and now it's it just doesn't look good for us. I thought Lovren scored a banger in that. He did score a banger in that game. Was ruled as an own goal, fairly, I guess. But to be honest, we're just kind of poor, quite poor in attack. They seemed a bit toothless, didn't they?
Yeah, they really seemed a bit toothless. And we, of course, we were on stream. We were live during this game. and the mood just completely it went. It was we were all deflated. I think there were 4 or 5, maybe even 6 of us at the time. Everybody except the Belgian football guy we had on, he was happy, but everybody else was quite deflated because the way that we conceded the last goal in the 93rd minute was just a case of Russian football letting itself down again in a grand scheme with just bad defending, just shutting off because you think the game is over. So that happens to Zenit
But
and a lot.
even the first goal they conceded though was quite scrappy as well. It wasn't like they scored two great goals or anything. It was just
Yeah, yeah, they did. I just remembered the first goal, and it was horrible. It was like two block. It was a very FIFA goal. Two like guys just blocking it on the line, and then the guy just bundling it in. It was not a good goal to concede. Neither of the goals good to concede. So after this game, a lot of people started calling out for Sergey Semak to leave because as good as he's been in Russia, then its record in Europe has been not. I don't think it's been as horrible as people are making it out to be, but it's not been great. They have underperformed, that's for sure. So after that, on Saturday, Zenit play against Ruben Kazan, and this is a very important game because you've got Dortmund coming up next, got some more big games coming up next. So you have to win this one. Here, Erokin scores first, but then Georgia Despotovic and Darko Jeftic score, and Zenit lose out. It's their first home game in the league that they've lost since 2018. They also lost Ruben Kazan on that day. And now, people are really coming out for Semak. Azmoun hasn't played, Malcolm hasn't played. Attack looks.
Osman's sick though, isn't he?
He is sick, and then Semak said that he didn't play yesterday as well, so he said that he's also got a real niggle. He'll be back soon. Malcolm has. We'll discuss Malcolm at more depth, but again, not another good result. A terrible result, if we're being honest. Then yesterday they played Borussia Dortmund, only lost 2-0, and what I've heard is that Dortmund was quite average. They were quite pedestrian, not too good. But Artem, you watched the whole game. What did you think of this game? Wasn't it bad? And how do you feel
No.
about their overall chances in the Champions League now?
I'm not gonna lie. Watching the game as a whole, I thought that I've never seen Zenit defend that well. In
Right.
years of watching them, I've never seen them defend as well as they did yesterday. Like that's the whole defense, the whole team was just so solid, so compact, and Zenit don't often have to play that kind of football because we're not playing against Borussia Dortmund or teams like that every week.
Yeah.
But the fact that they all really came together and played that well was fantastic.
Mhm.
Karavayev gave away a penalty. A few people questioned it. I thought it was a fair penalty, to be honest. He
Yeah.
pulled
So
back. Yeah, I can't remember who it was, but he pulled someone back in the box. I think it might have been Brandt. And then Haaland does what Haaland does best and scores in the 91st minute. But at that point,
yeah.
the defense obviously wasn't quite as compact. We'd already conceded a goal. The only thing we needed to do was score. Another goal conceded is not going to make that much of a difference. So I think that's kind of what happened there. If you told me up until the 78 minutes and it played that well, like I would have taken it any day of the week. Now going forward, they were awful. Like they were
Yeah.
absolutely terrible. Zuba played probably one of the worst halves of his whole career. He was
Right.
taken off. Mostovoy was put on. I thought that was a good option. But even okay, he got a few touches here and there, but you can see the stats there. Zenit didn't have one shot on target, so it was
Yeah.
quite a poor performance in attack. But defensively, I thought we were solid.
Yeah. From whatever I saw quite a bit of the first half, and I saw the goals and I saw the highlights. I'll start with a bit of love and then I'll get to the hate. I think Wendell was excellent. I think
He was good.
he was really good. If that's a glimpse of what we're going to get, he was quite pinpoint with his passes. He was advancing play. Ozdoev a lot of the time just acts like a ball carrier, just getting ball from point A to point B. Barrios apparently was quite solid. He had to be quite solid against that attacking line that you see Sancho, Royce, Reina, Haaland, and then on the bench you've got Bellingham and Brandt and Hazard and all of those guys. So it's and listeners got to keep this in mind is that Artem, because listen, I would have taken a 2-0 defeat any day of the week going into the game. And I think Artem, you would have as well, because I was not confident. I had told Twitter that I think all the teams in Russia were going to lose 5-0 or more this week. That didn't happen. So going into the game, I would have
I
taken this result.
can I
What
just
do you,
stop you there for a
yeah,
sec?
go on, go on.
I don't know if I would have taken it purely because a 2-0 defeat, like you've got to look at how we've taken the defeat as well. If you told me that, Zenit would play really, really well the whole game, give away a penalty, kind of a stupid penalty, and then concede in the 90th minute, I would have been like, okay, fair. But the thing is, there's so many games that are 2-0. If you told me, like, oh, I take a 2-0 at the start, I would assume that you met the game where Dortmund are attacking the whole game, you know what I mean? Like, they have shots here and there, they're hitting the post, the crossbar every few minutes, and it's only 2-0. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
wouldn't have taken that kind of game. Like, the way, like, I kind of feel, I know I probably shouldn't, but I feel a little bit hard done by because for 78 minutes, they were so solid. They were,
Exactly.
and
See that
it's
exactly, exactly,
disappointing.
exactly. See, that's my point. Is that Zenit were, and this is we're going to see this in all three games, which is why I'm making this overall point. Is that Zenit were really solid for 78 minutes, and then they give away a stupid penalty, which was a penalty. So you're
It
at your
was,
own
it was.
downfall. And you're on your own downfall. The second goal is you. The penalty changes the game, right? Let's be honest. Second goal, it was there. It's fine, right? So going into the game, I would have taken a 2-0. But after watching 78 minutes of the game, I would have wanted a draw, a 0-0, a 1-1, or something like that. Losing in that way makes you feel hard done by, and that's what we're going to see in the other two games as well, and that's what we keep seeing in Russian football. Before we get to that, though, I want to ask you, Artem, has this week changed your opinion of Sergey Semak? Do you think he needs to be sacked? Anything like that? And what do you think Zenit need? What do you think Zenit are lacking at the moment?
I still believe in Semak. Like, you've got to understand that. Like, it's always a great idea to get rid of a manager until you realize you've got to bring somebody in. And how many good managers have Zenit brought in recent years? We've had Lucescu, who was absolutely trash and brought trash players with him from all over the place. We've had Mancini, who basically tried to get rid of everybody, who tried to get rid of Zuba, our captain. Like, imagine had Mancini stayed, right? We wouldn't have Zuba on that team. He'd be gone.
Yeah.
Like, Semak, he's brought such a feel-good factor to Zenit, and it's such a shame that he hasn't been able to perform in Europe. But to be honest, I'm sticking with him. I don't think there's another man out there who would come to Zenit that would really improve us. Like, there was a lot of talk during the week about Pochettino, right?
Yeah.
And within an hour of that news story breaking out, Ribalta came out and basically just laughed it off. And it's
Yeah.
it's like, if Zenit could genuinely get Pochettino instead of Semak, then I'd consider it. But the pool of managers that Zenit can actually get, they can actually pull in. I don't think that there's anyone who's going to do quite as good as Semak. Like, there's so many more factors to Semak than just the manager that he is. It's the fact that he's Russian. He can speak to the majority of players there. Like, don't forget that there's a foreigner limit here. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
a foreign manager comes in and he's going to use translators to speak to the local players. That's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Like, okay, right, it works for some teams, but in general, you'd rather it's a Russian-speaking manager 100% of the time, right?
Yeah.
Semak, the football he's played hasn't been that bad. I think that we need Malcolm back. Firstly, we do.
Yeah.
We also might need one, really pacey, tricky attacking winger too, to
Yeah.
complement him too. Like, I really don't think that the problem is so much with Semak. Like, I'm Semak in 100%.
Yeah. I agree with you, and I'm gonna draw for our listeners, and I think Artem will find it annoying eventually as well. I'm gonna draw a lot of Real Madrid parallels in this podcast, but it's not gonna be jokes. I'm dead serious, right? Real Madrid haven't been playing really well. We beat Barcelona in the El Clasico. That was a phenomenal performance. But right now we have 1 point in our group and our bottom. We went 3 down to Shakhtar and lost 3-2. We went 2-0 down to Gladbach and we drew 2-2. We've not been playing great football in Champions League. We won this competition 3 years in a row and we barely can win a game in it now. And I'm really worried. I think we're going to get a Europa League. I genuinely think we're going to be in the Europa League this season, unless Zidane really dramatically changes things. So, and I have a theory that Semak and Zidane are the same person, essentially the same person, right? If you think about it, you'll come to that conclusion. But I think the main thing is I love both Semak and Zidane, right? And there's a lot of talk about Zidane being fired, a lot of talk of Semak being fired. But the thing which is so pertinent, which what you say is that you need to find a new manager. For Real Madrid, I don't think there is the only candidate that I would consider is Pochettino. But there's at least a man to fall back on there, or maybe Xabi Alonso or Raul or someone like that. But at Zenit, I don't think there is a single manager out there that can come in, a single realistic manager out there that can come in and do a better job than Sergey Semak. Mainly because, and this applies to Zidane as well, mainly because of how good it has been in Semak and Zidane's entire tenure, right? They've played good football, they've won a lot of things, they've both been through hard times. But because Pochettino, the thing with Pochettino is a great manager, one of the best in the world, no denying it. But Pochettino needs the full support of whoever is in charge. And I just do not, for his sake, I do not want to see him in the RPL. I think it won't end well. He deserves better than that. And the foreign limit, he needs to build his squad. He needs to have the support of whoever's in charge. And when you've already got people like Ribalta, um, sad and disappointed with Arshavin and the board for buying players without their approval, I don't think Pochettino will take to it too well, right? So I'm not Zidane. I'm Zidane and Semak in solely because of the fact that they've shown us results in the past. I trust them, prove them again. They're fairly young managers. The squad atmosphere has been great for both clubs. Squad atmosphere has been a problem in the past, and simply because there are no better replacements. So I'm Semak in, but I do think he needs to change things up
The
dramatically.
o- the only
Yeah,
person who I'd consider as a Semak replacement, if it was to happen, as AVB. No one else. I
yeah,
don't
definitely.
care
Same thing.
about
Same thing.
anyone else.
I forgot about that. I said that to you yesterday as well. AVB is in a precarious position. Marseille have lost two of their opening games. So there is a chance that he gets sacked. And I think I agree with that. AVB is the only man I would take. AVB has shown Zenit some of its best moments. And he's the only foreign manager that I would trust to, get.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Exactly. If you look back at the squad that AVB had, right, and the squad that Semak has now, okay, right, there's a lot of different players in there, but the atmosphere is so similar in both of those two teams. And the way that both Semak and AVP have gone, like, the only thing that AVP did that was different to Semak is that he performed much better in Europe.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to put that down to having Witzel and Hulk, fair enough. But they're so similar, but AVB is just that little bit better in Europe. That's the only difference.
Yeah.
But like, if Semak was to get fired, I'd hate. First of all, I'd hate if Semak got fired. But if it was to
Yeah.
happen, AVB is the only man I want in there. I don't want anyone else.
See, that's the thing. And I completely agree. Completely agree with you there. And by the way, listeners, let us know what you think. And we're going to go on a lot of tangents and stuff. So, the interaction might not be as high. But I don't trust Zenit board to get an appropriate replacement. I just don't. I don't. For
No, I
Semak, I
don't.
think, yeah, as good as they've been, and if you look at it, I think one of the reasons Zenit have been so successful over the past 2 years is because of the board has sort of let Ribalta and Semak do what they do. There's not been much interference, right? And I just don't. Those two are a perfect pairing in Ribalta. And I think, you know what? Here's the thing. I think if Semak leaves, Ribalta is going to leave as well. And that is going to destroy Zenit. The legacy is over.
Yeah,
The
I
two
would. Yeah,
years,
I really don't want that to happen.
exactly. So the thing with so much depends on Semak right now is that it would be premature, in my opinion, to fire him. Of course, results might get so bad that there's no other choice, and that's just Mayday time. But if you look at the state of the group now, you've got Lazio first with 4 points, Bruges with 4 points, Dortmund with 3 points. Bruges already have 4 points, and you would have thought that Zenit would have to beat them twice, which won't happen. Lazio and Dortmund are two good teams. Artem, looking at this group, we all of us on the stream thought that Zenit have the best chance of getting out of the group out of any Russian team. What are your thoughts now on Zenit's chances now that we know what's going on?
I think they're the least likely to get out of the group out of all the Russian teams, Europa League and the Champions League. Um, it's disappointing to say, but like already we need to win. We need to get 4 points, right, to get into third place right now. And that's assuming somehow all the other teams lose. You
Yeah,
know
which is
what I mean?
impossible. Which is literally
Like,
impossible.
so it's really not looking good. We need to. come up. We need to come up with a win against Lazio, and then basically win or draw the rest of the games, which is so unlikely. It's ridiculous. It's so upsetting to see a
It is really
campaign so
upsetting,
close to being
and
over already.
it is, and that's what we're going to get to, and we're going to at length discuss why we think. Because I want to have the discussion now. Why are Russian clubs so trash in Europe? What's the actual reason? Because I still haven't been able to pinpoint it, and I want to pinpoint it today.
Okay.
And
Before we move on from Zenit, can I just make a you had an agenda against Lovren, right? I
yeah,
have an agenda of my own, right? And
hey,
it's not
finally,
that I don't like this guy. Who are you guessing?
I'm guessing Rakitsky.
No, it's not him. It's not that I don't like this player. Right? I really like him and I think he should be part of the squad. I just don't think he should be anywhere near the first team. Like
Yeah,
the person I'm talking about is Mikhail Kerzhakov, right? He's never ever made a save that he wasn't expected to make. This bloke is
that's true. I can't remember Kerzhakov actually. I can remember maybe a
he's
couple of saves.
no, he's never ever made a save he wasn't expected to make. He's like the most meh goalkeeper of all
Yeah,
time. And it's like every single time, like yesterday, before who was a Sancho who stepped up for the penalty, I was like, I would rather any of our previous goalkeepers to be in goals right now. Mikhail Kerzhakov is not saving a penalty. If we had Ladigan, we'd have like a 50-50 chance. Because he was unbelievable at saving penalties. Lunov would have maybe a 25-30% chance. Kerzhakov, I was just like, what, this is a goal.
it's a
That's
goal.
it. And okay, right, penalties shouldn't be what you judge a keeper on solely. But sometimes when there's if you look at Safonov or Maximenko or any of those other Russian goalkeepers in the league right now, like, did you see Maximenko save at the weekend?
Yeah,
I can't remember who it was, but someone from outside the Krasnodar's box literally smashed it. You rarely see shots this powerful. He stopped it with one hand.
yeah.
Kerzhakov's not getting near that. No way, ever.
I mean,
Now, saying that he's a really safe goalkeeper, he'll make the saves he's expected to make. He'll never ever make a really really stupid mistake, but he never saves the team.
see,
He's
that's
never
the
the last man that you want there.
Yeah, see that, you know what, and I feel bad for Lunev as well, because for until he got that injury, which was I think a few maybe in 2020 early, I think Lunev was the first choice goalkeeper, and Lunev had mistakes.
Yeah, he was.
He was like Safonov and Maximenko, but he's won games for Zenit. I've seen Lunev win games for Zenit, save
Exactly.
points, right? And if you are willing to give the chance to Maximenko and Safonov to be injury prone, not injury prone, error prone, but to win games, I think Lunev deserves at least a game out. At least a game out. Khimki is the next game. I want to see Lunev starting that game. I don't see. I think Kerzhakov and Lunev are equals, but I want to see what Lunev has on his mind because he was really good for a point. He would make mistakes, but he would win you games as well. And I don't like. It's a
That's
good
the
point.
thing.
Nobody talks about it, but yeah,
It's those big moments that win you games. Okay, if you want to be really safe against teams that if you want to play Kerzhakov against every single team except those in the top six, go for it. But Lunyov is the man. Okay, he might make a mistake here and there, but I think he saves more points than he loses in it. Whereas Kerzhakov is equal zero. He doesn't lose any. He doesn't gain any.
yeah, that's the thing, and that's a good point to raise. Actually, it's a good point to raise. But Zenit have Khimki next, then they have Lazio next, and then there's the stupid international break, which no one cares about, which I hate. I want them to stop.
Here's a
But
question for you, right? If
go on.
if we were both overwhelmingly Zenit in there, but let's just say again Zenit don't perform against Khimki. Say they draw or they win, but it was a really bad performance, and then they can't pick up a win against Lazio. What then?
I think let me have a look. Wait, I just yanked my earphones off my ear, but they're back now. So it's I
Let's say
think
Zenit beat Khimki 2-1, and
no,
then they draw 1-all to Lazio. Let's just give that scenario.
I think these three games will decide Sergey Semak's future. I
Oh,
think
we still have to play Krasnodar before the international break. I thought it was Lazio, and then that's it.
no. So I think
Okay.
if he can get a cumulative 6 points out of these three games, I think he's safe.
I
I
agree
think
with you.
if I think if he gets 3 points or less, I think he might have to go.
3 points or less. Okay. I can see that.
Because 3 points or less puts you in a situation where you have one win in your last 6 games.
Yeah. I'd
Right?
argue
So
that 5 points is enough. A win
yeah,
and
5 points is
2 draws.
enough. 5 points is enough. He'll be
But
fine with
it's
5 points.
hang on,
Well,
hang on. Let me just outline for anyone listening on that. This is not me saying Semak out. I want him to stay
yeah,
even
exactly.
regardless of this scenario, but I'm just saying that what do I think is gonna happen? I think that if they do pick up less than 5 points from these next 3 games, then international break is a pretty good time.
Who's Semak? It's William Oliveira, isn't it? And Tymoschuck.
Yeah,
Yeah,
both of
I
them.
think I would take them as the new managers. I would
Why?
give them no, I would give them 8 weeks as a caretaker or whatever. And if they're doing well, I'll keep them as the new permanent managers over some random foreign ass bloke who's on 700K a week. Definitely take.
No. See, no, because they wouldn't bring anything new to the table.
I think they could.
What could they possibly bring to the table?
They might have different ideologies. I think both of them are like established coaches. They're only acting as assistants. So I think they could. Or maybe, I mean,
Oh, I don't
oh,
know, man. I'd struggle to see how. Like, I think that the Zenit team are all quite like they're all kind of on the same wavelength now. I can't imagine that anybody in the coaching staff is genuinely going home and saying to his wife that, "Oh, that prick Semak again. He's not listening to what I'm saying.
he's
Like, he
only
just
playing
needs to do this."
4-4-2. Always 4-4-2 is what he's going with. I don't know, man. It's tough. It's tough.
That's just the only thing I can see is I can see, for example, like when's the international or not the international break? When's the winter break?
It's in the winter.
Fuck you, Hanu. When is it?
It's in
Give me
the.
an
It's like
exact
in
date.
like 15
Scroll down the
December. March.
page.
I don't want to.
All you have to do is scroll down the page. The 16th of December. Oh my days. The last game is against Spartak. Holy.
Listen, man.
Is gonna have a tough
I'm,
time going
I'm
into
gonna,
winter, don't they?
I'm gonna say it. I don't think Samak is making it out the hood.
Oh man. I am still Semak in, and regardless of
I
how many
am
wins,
definitely
wins,
Samak in.
draws, or losses he gets in the next, I'm gonna give him right. Regardless of how many wins, draws, or losses he gets by winter, I'm still Semak in, unless he loses every single game.
Yeah,
Like
no,
I still think even if we had like a really terrible record, I'd still believe him because a lot can change after the winter break.
but look, here's the thing. I think after the winter break is these 5 games are must wins. He should get 15 points out of these games. At least the league games, right? At least the league games. But my prediction is that he's not making it out the hood. I hope he does. And I think this game here, Zenit Spartak could decide the title. That's also my prediction. But
Could have said,
yeah, before we get to Krasnodar, we'd just like to give an intermission, an interlude. Congratulate Khabib Nurmagomedov, the GOAT, the greatest. He won against Justin Gaethje or whatever the fuck he's called.
I think it's
And he's
Gaethje.
Gaethje. He's retired now. But what a bloke. What a legend. He said he
Yeah,
likes football a lot. He's going to travel the world watching football. I hope he comes into Russian football in some way, shape, or form. Would be great. And just fair play, man. What a bloke. Respect.
yeah, serious respect. Like he's one of these people who I just have ultimate respect for. Like I know we're getting off the topic of football here, but
No,
like
it's fine.
Habib is he's just that guy. Like he speaks his mind. He's so humble. Like the fact that he's retired now to spend the rest of you know his time with his mother, his family. Like I really respect like everything he's done for UFC, what he's done for MMA in general.
And
What he's
I
done for Russia even.
what
It's
he's done
impressive.
for Russia and what he's done for Dagestan.
Yeah, for sure.
He's done a lot for Dagestan because from what I've heard, those regions are sort of slightly looked down upon. But
Yeah.
what he's done is insane. He's like they have a hero of their own now. It was supposed to be Anzi, they were supposed to be the heroes, but they fucked off. But Khabib is immortal basically for that region, isn't he?
Yeah,
So
he's the
he's
number one pound for pound champion of the world.
of
So
the world, and he's from Dagestan. Imagine how huge that is. Imagine like I mean, you do have Conor McGregor, so I can't make the Dublin thing, but because you already have one.
Nah, to be honest, not as many people like him anymore. He's done a lot of dodgy shit. Like I'm not a fan of Conor McGregor, to be honest. I think he's just done too many dodgy things, and he's just a bit of
Yeah,
a
no, that's
prick,
fair.
isn't he? So
Yeah, no, that's fair. But moving back on to football, that was a nice, cute little tangent there. We're going to talk about Krasnodar next. Now, quite subconsciously, we're actually going from the most disappointing to the least disappointing here. Krasnodar last week they drew to Rennes, which was a very good result. They played Christian Ramirez and Smolnikov on the wings. Very good result. They have everyone's respect. Safonov with a man of the match blinder performance. Well done. At the weekend, they play Spartak. Odds are stacked against them. Ezekiel Pons, Moses, and Larson all had a mad game, and their squad was extremely depleted. You're playing Suleimanov, Ramirez on the wing, Ionov up front. This is a horrible squad. This is a mid-table squad. Tony Villena is the only one holding it down, and they lose 3-1. No one's holding it against them. No one's holding it against them, right? It's a bygone. Then they move on to the Champions League. And yesterday they lose out 4-0 to Chelsea. Now this is another one. I think this is a very harsh result. Chelsea were ordinary, covered the whole game. They were ordinary. Krasnodar had better chances. They had more chances. A penalty which wasn't a penalty changed the entire game. But and I want to hear your
I
perspective. Yeah, go on. Go on. Actually, go on.
the penalty that wasn't a penalty. I'm kind of like, I think it was a penalty. Like, had it not been given, like, let's say it was Zenit against. Actually, let's just say it was Krasnodar against Chelsea, but it was the other way around. Zuma came in that same way. I'd be pretty annoyed. Like, every time there's a penalty like that, I kind of try to think about what would happen if it was the other way around. And if it wasn't given as a penalty to Krasnodar, I'd be really, really pissed. So I think it was genuinely a penalty. But, like, overall, like you said, 4-0 is a very harsh result. That's not what Krasnodar deserved.
Yeah.
One penalty and two mistakes from Safonov, two poor mistakes.
Yeah,
So
that's the thing. See, that's the thing. And with before we get to the mistakes, I think if they had Kabea and Wanderson, they would have won this game easily. I think those two would have made an amazing impact. I really want to see those guys in the Champions League. It's sad that they aren't, and I hope they will be. But again, we're making excuses. Everyone has injuries, blah blah blah. But I think again, 50% for Zenit, like I said, some of the blame has to go to Karabayev and the team. It's a preventable goal, right? You played really, really well for a lot of the game. But here, I think all four of these goals were preventable. Safonov was at fault for the first one. It was a howler. The fourth, no, the third or the fourth one of those, they were trying to pass it out the back. It was some weird Manuel Neuer stuff going on. Another preventable goal. Caio is way too error prone at this level. He's given away two penalties now. He gave one against Pau, gave one yesterday. Both of them didn't go in, but you can't do that. And again, it's another case of Russian football letting itself down. I mean, yeah, you have injuries, you have whatever. And Krasnodar have hired a new fitness coach from England. I hope he can do something. But I think Krasnodar Artem, they still have a chance of finishing third. Or even, I think this group will go to the last match day. I think on match day 6, all teams will have a chance of going through. But what do you think of Krasnodar's chances? What do you think of their performance? What do you think of the game?
I think Krasnodar have actually been pretty good. Like last night, it was like we said, it was a harsh result. I think that if people watched the game, they'd see that it wasn't a 4-0 game.
Yeah,
Um,
1-0 at most, I think.
but I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing that they lost 4-0. Maybe the other teams in the group will be thinking, well, like Chelsea smacked these guys. They might be able to catch some teams off guard. That's purely speculation, pure bullshit, really. But um, to be honest, I think Krasnodar have a good chance. Like, I think if they can get a couple of points off Sevilla, like maybe one game out of the two that they're playing against them, or two draws or anything like that, I think that they'd be in a good position to at least get Europa League. They played really well against Rennes, so maybe they'll be able to get a win there too. Like I think that Krasnodar will continue in Europe after the winter break, and most likely in the Europa League. That's kind of my prediction at the moment. What do you think? Do you think that that's fair, or do you think that Krasnodar are going to get knocked out fourth place just like Zenit are?
No, I don't think. I don't think they're going to get knocked out. I think once they have Wanderson and Kavea and their entire 11 and Victor Klaassen back, I think they're going to do well. I think I'm quite confident about their chances at the way. I thought they were good. It's sad that they did let themselves down, but it's fine. It's Chelsea. I would have predicted them to lose anyway, and they were respectable, is what I'll say. But some breaking news is just appeared on my timeline, and it's going to shock you, Artem. There are strong reports that Sergey Pinyaev is going to join Khimki very soon.
That would be insane.
That would be depressing and sad.
No, that would be amazing.
It would not be amazing. Shut up.
It
Stop
would
lying to yourselves.
absolutely be
Stop
amazing.
lying to yourselves.
It would be absolutely amazing. I would love that.
Why? Why would
you
you love
messing?
that?
Are you messing?
He's not going to start for them. And it's Khimki. They're going to get relegated. I'd prefer him at Charlton.
Hang on. Who's their strikers at the moment?
They have players, man. Don't do this. They have Konate. They have... come on, man. I can't believe you're doing this. They have players. They have Mirzov and they have not Lomo, they have players. Wait, hold up. We're loading it. Yeah, but go on. Why do you think this is such a great move?
You just said Mirzov.
Mirzov has been good. Okay, he's a meme, but
He
been
scored a good goal this weekend. It's
And
probably
last-
the only
and-
thing he's ever done in
and
Russian football history.
You are out of your mind if you think they're going to give a lot of minutes to a 15-year-old.
It doesn't matter if they don't give a lot of minutes to him. You'd realize that he will get minutes. There's absolutely zero chance that he won't get minutes. Look at their strikers. He
I don't
cannot be.
care.
He is. Oh, no. Hang on. Look at their strikers. Name those. Right. There's 4 players that he can replace there in that team. Right. 4. Okay. The second striker, the three centre forwards. Right. Let's be honest. Right. He plays a completely different style of football to Jadun, but he probably would play ahead of him. Probably.
No, he would.
Right.
You are out of your mind.
Hanu, why wouldn't he?
Because it's Khimki and because it's Khimki. If he was at Krasnodar or Krylia or something, I would completely agree with you. But Khimki are far from the most progressive club. If you look at their signings, if you look at their business, they're acting as a feeder club for all of these. They're acting like Sochi for all of these subpar players. They
Why
don't
is that
have
an
a
issue?
system. Because he's not going to get minutes. Look at how many minutes Daniel Lipovoy has got, okay? I'm not comparing them to, but I'm just saying, I'm telling you, look, because what happened is Khimki have had at least 2 or 3 players come to their club and leave in the next 7 days. It happened with Zenit's Vorobiev guy, and I just don't think it's a good atmosphere for him. I would prefer him at any other RPL club because I would prefer him at Rotor. But Khimki are going to go down.
Oh no, hang on. If you said he was going to Rotor, I'd be happy as well. I think.
Look, he's 17% of the minutes, and I'm afraid someone's going to tackle and ruin his ACL or something. He needs a path to develop. Charlton will have a path to develop. They've got players. Khimki does not provide anyone with a path to anything.
Hang on.
Khimki does not provide anyone with a path to anything.
You said Chotanova has a path to develop. Have you been following the FNL by any chance?
That's not what I'm saying though.
Get the FNL table up.
See, that's not what I'm saying though.
Get it up.
Not what I'm saying.
No, get it up. Find me Chotanova in that table.
That's not. See, that's like saying Krasnodar are 8th and they're failing. That's the point you're making. I'm not talking about them as a sporting team. Charlton sold 7 of their players to Krylia who are top of the table.
Exactly. They sold so many of their players to Krylia. Why? Like it doesn't look like they're going to be. Let's be honest, right? In the FNL, right? Chotanova, the main thing that they need to do this season now is stay up, right?
Yes.
And that may, I'm not saying it will, but it may force them to play a different style of football, right? And if he's going to play that style of football in the FNL versus the RPL, what is the difference? The only one thing is that he's going to be playing at a higher level and getting experience at that level.
First of all, he's barely going to get any minutes. He's going to get more minutes with Chertanov. That's one thing. The second of all is that he's 15 years of age, right? We can't get past that. There's a long time before he develops, and there's at least 2 or 3 years before he starts playing at like an RPL level or a high level if he gets signed by Man United, whatnot, right? But the thing is, he doesn't have the liberty of going to a trash club at this point in his career and failing and getting off the radar or something, right? If he goes to say Khimki right now, he gets no minutes, he gets an injury, or Khimki go down because Khimki also have to stay up. They're not Khimki are not a club. I'm not going to sign for Khimki with the expectation that in 3 years they're going to make me into a finished product and I'm going to get sold. The only thing is maybe the Spartak angle that they're going to sign Pinyaev, and if he does well, he's going to go to Spartak. But in that case, I would just like to see Spartak sign Pinyaev for the under 19 team or whatever. I just think it's I don't like Khimki and I don't think it's a risk. It's not a very sustainable club. It's not a very strong club at all. And I just think right now he's better off spending this season at Cheltenham. Maybe next year go to some good FNL club or an RPL club or a foreign club when he'll be 16 and he'll be able to get foreign transfers. This is a really pointless move. There's only 18 games left in the season anyway. And he can't sign now. He has to sign in January.
Yeah, I know he'd have to sign in January.
That's 10 games.
Man, I don't think Khimki are going to go down personally. I think that their squad is good enough to stay up.
Really?
Yeah, I do think so.
But
Do you
then
not?
again, I mean, it's like, what do they contribute is thing. I don't know, man. I don't
Look, what they
know.
contribute to the league is a completely different story to are they good enough to stay up.
I don't know. I don't think so.
I think they are.
I don't really think so. But I mean, let's move on. Let's move on. Are we done with Krasnodar? I think we're done with Krasnodar.
Yeah, we're done with Krasnodar.
Right now, moving on to
This has to be the least structured podcast we've ever done, and that's saying something.
It is, but it's fun. I'm having fun. I'm having fun doing it, and it's because
No, I mean I'm enjoying it, but I just like it's so funny because someone could like.
yeah,
I'm just imagining someone pressing like the way you can skip forward on YouTube by 10 seconds on your phone.
yeah,
Someone skips 10 seconds and we move from Krasnodar to Khabib. Skip another minute and we're on the FNL and Pinyaev.
That's what you get here. That's the thing you get here. But we have timestamps for you, so don't worry about it. We do have timestamps for you.
You're gonna have a nightmare with those this week.
I really will. That's true. But moving on, and I have to apologize again. I have to give out another apology, and I have to caution myself, and I have to Lokomotiv. They last week I came here and apologized because we all predicted that they were going to get smashed in this group. 6 games, 6 losses, 24 goals conceded, something like that. And they played really well against Red Bull Salzburg, got 2 points. They got 2 points, got 2 goals and 1 point. Very, very well they played, right? Adair scored, unbelievable. Lisakovic scored, just unbelievable. Then in the league, they lost out to Rotor Volgograd of all clubs. I think it's like Rotor's first or second win all season. It was Rotor's first win of the entire season. Flamarion and Andres Pons scoring 2 good goals. Krakowiak getting a red card. And at this point, confidence in Lokomotiv just went to an all-time low. Everybody thought they were going to get shanked by Bayern. But I'm telling you, this was the best performance in this season thus far by a Russian club. I think over the past couple of seasons they've been really disappointing. I think this is up there. Lokomotiv were absolutely spectacular in this game. They sort of switched off for the second goal, but I was expecting like a 6-0 loss or a 7-0 loss or something like that. They had Bayern on the ropes for a lot of this game. They could have won this game, and I thought they were really impressive. I think Nikolic deserves a lot of credit. I think Lokomotiv, the side, deserve a lot of credit. Semin is a fraud. I'm glad he left. And I think Lokomotiv have a good chance here of getting the third spot if they can continue playing like this. Artem, what did you think of the game? What did you think of Lokomotiv? What's going on?
They deserve nothing but praise for the way they played. They had one of the best teams in Europe. The best team in Europe,
The
actually,
best
from
team.
last season, on ropes for most of the game. Like, the one thing, if anything I could change from that game, there was this one moment where Zailuish got into the box, and instead of just passing it across the box to, I can't remember who it was, but it was another forward, instead of just, passing it across, squaring it, simple goal, he took the shot and hit it wide. But, Lokomotiv were fantastic. Like, in attack specifically, like, they seem to get into behind Bayern's defense so often. The only one thing that frustrated me was that every time they got into the box, I tweeted about this. Every time they got into the box, it seemed like their controller died because they either hit the ball right into the ground. It's like they were trying to do that Mesut Ozil thing where he hits the ball into the ground to make it bounce up, but it just never bounced up. It just rolled along the ground. It was awful. But besides that, I think you're completely right. Nikolic deserves all the praise. Soman is a fraud.
Soman definitely a fraud.
All of that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's Lokomotiv were really good. They had no injury issues or anything. I think Nikolic could have brought on a couple of players a bit earlier than he did. I think I would like to see Kamano and Lisakovic a bit earlier, but it's not taking away from it. They just performed very, very well. They missed the final pass a lot of the times. Just the final ball couldn't happen. And I'm confident. I think they probably going to regret saying this, but they might have a bit of a chance against Atletico. Against Salzburg, I think that game is going to be at home. So I think even better. They have a chance of getting through. But
I think that
they'll get
I
third.
think that the main thing for them, I'm not expecting to get. I'm not expecting them or Salzburg to get any points against Atletico or Bayern. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's really going to come down to the last. Are they playing each other the last game of the group?
I think it's on match day 5 is when they'll play again.
Match day 5. Okay, that's
match
big.
Day 5.
Match
That
day
might
5 is the
decide
one that's going to decide pretty much everything between those two teams. Now, if Lokomotiv can pick up a point or two in the next 3 games, that would be absolutely amazing. Like, that would be insanely impressive. But
really
Salzburg is the one.
Salzburg is the one. And we were also going to talk about this stupid club down here. Just sad. Real Madrid, just sad. 1 point bottom of the group.
Hilarious.
It's not hilarious. It's sad.
Hilarious.
Depressing. Krasnodar, Lokomotiv are all ahead of us. Like, we need to have some shame. But getting to some funnies. No one knows who Miranchuk is. First of all, the stupid idiots at the BBC tweeted out that Alexei Miranchuk scored against Bayern, and then 4-3-3 in their infinite wisdom created this graphic and said D Miranchuk. Artem, do you know who D Miranchuk is and where does he come from? Do you think he might get a move to Ajax or Atlanta in the future?
Yeah, I always knew that there was a triplet somewhere. I don't know. It's anybody's guess. My favorite one so far was Jambulat, though.
Jambulat. I still keep laughing at that one. What a name! What a name to just think of. Jambulat Miranchuk. Nah, that's mad. See this.
I also like Welcome.
Welcome Miranchuk. Nah, that's funny. Welcome Miranchuk is hilarious. But why can't anyone get their names right? People still act like Russia is this just random weird place, no names, and it's so strange to me, honestly.
Yeah, it is hilarious. Do you know what though? I feel like Russia produces. This is like unrelated to Miranchuk's really, but I feel like Russia produces more twins or brothers in football than any other country in the world, and I'm willing to bet on that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think anybody's going to dispute that. David Sanson did a whole ass graphic talking about how many brothers there were in Russian football, and there were loads. There were loads. So I agree with you. I think that's a fair assessment. I don't know why that is, but it is. So what else about
First comment on the right says Daler Miranchuk.
Honestly, though, man, I please get their names right. Please get like Russian players. Please get their names right. Don't put random. Don't put J somewhere. Don't put like random sauce. Don't put three
Jay
eyes.
Jay Jay can also be Jambulat.
J can, no, like by J I mean like Alexei, and at the end is a J instead of
Oh
a
yeah,
Y
okay.
or an I. And don't do that nonsense, right? Just Google it, go on transfer market or something. Do any of that. But coming to that existential point that I was talking about, right? Adam, why are Russian clubs so bad in Europe? Is it because of the foreign limit? Is it because there's some hidden mental attribute that just because I don't think Russian football has gotten so bad that I don't think CSK could play like a team from Malta or Andorra tomorrow, and I would still be worried. I don't think, or Dinamo, or any of those guys. There's not a single team in Europe I think that these clubs can beat 10 times out of 10 or 9 times out of 10. That's how worried and that's how bad the situation has become. Adam, why do you think this is? Is it because of poor coaching? Is it because we just shoot ourselves in the foot all the time? Is it because of bad game management, the foreign limit, bad squads? What's the reason? I still don't know.
This is going to be an answer that you're not expecting, but it's something that I've been thinking about quite a lot over the last couple of days slash weeks. Um, I think that our expectations might be too high. I think that we've had the luxury of being the sixth best league in Europe for so long that we expect to perform at that level. But at the end of this season, we were losing a massive amount of points because there were some seasons 5 or 6 years ago that got us a lot of points, and we will no longer be the sixth best league in Europe. Probably drop down to eighth or ninth or 10th, and I think at that point we might start assessing ourselves properly, and it's such a shame because
It is.
I've really liked being able to say that Russia's sixth best league in Europe, and we've got all these players coming through, and we're so talented, and it's all great, but like every year that goes by, like it's 3 or 4 years in a row now, that's just been disappointment after disappointment. That you've got to ask the question of, is it okay just to lower the expectations and maybe we'll see something better? Like
Yeah.
it's kind of a depressing thought, obviously, but it's the only thing I can think of because, like, I don't think that the teams are playing that badly. Maybe they're just not the sixth best league in the world. You know what I mean? Like maybe that's just not the case.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing is it's a fair point, but I think if you ignore the coefficients, if you just look at the squads, if you look at the quality of the players, if you look at the money, if you just ignore the coefficient, I think Russian teams on paper, maybe the paper's bad. Maybe the valuations that we look at aren't true. Maybe the players are better. Maybe we've just been lied to our entire lives. But I just think quality is there. It's just it doesn't translate in Europe for some weird reason, which I don't know what it could be.
But
But
hang on though. Like, would you say that the Russian league is better than the Turkish league?
in what terms though? Just quality?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Then
Yeah,
why
I
are
would say.
Turkish teams performing as well as Russian teams in Europe? That's
They
not
are.
saying anything because Turkish teams aren't performing well in Europe,
Yeah, that
but
exactly.
we're
They aren't.
performing as well as them. Maybe we're not like we always compare Russian league to the top five leagues. Maybe we should start comparing them to our own league. Like maybe we should start comparing like first we have to like let's pretend that this is the Nations League, okay? We're in category B. We've got Belgium, we've got Holland, we've got ourselves, Russia, we've got Turkey. We have to be better than all of those. Yeah, exactly. We have to be better than uh,
We might be the
than
farmers
all of
then.
those leagues before we can start really saying that we're better than France or
No,
any of them.
I don't think anyone say I don't see that's the thing. I think the thing with all of these the Austrian league is bad. It's trash. It's
No,
not
no,
better.
no. Hang
No,
on.
no,
I
no, no.
never
Hear me
compared
out.
the Russian league to the
Hear me
Austrian
out.
league.
Hear me out. I think what I'm saying is all of those like Israel is putting on performances. We know the Israeli league is not better than Russia. Scotland is putting on performances. We know they're not better. And every
You're
like
just saying, hang on. You're saying they're putting on performances. What performances are you talking about?
Israel is like the most points out of any coefficient country in like this season. But what I'm saying is
No, no, no,
even
no, no, no. But what I'm trying to say is, we think that they're performing so well because the expectations of those leagues is so low. And I know that you said Israel is the highest coefficient country this
yeah,
season.
but
That's not true.
no, I
Check
think
the
it is.
coefficients. No, check the coefficients. It's not
I
true.
s-
It
it
might be the
is.
best out of like the teams 10th to 15th or whatever. But it's not true for the whole thing.
All right, well let me find it. Right, it's
Yeah,
not on this. I'll
check it
find it
out.
on my
Find it,
find
find
it
it.
on my phone, and then we'll come back to
Okay.
it. But like yeah,
What I'm saying is that like whenever a Scottish team or a Israeli team or whatever puts up big result, it's like, oh, their football is on the way up and everything. Like the
yeah,
reason like we have set the standard so high where, like we were, we're obviously proud of Lokomotiv, putting up a fight
yeah,
against Bayern, but ultimately we're upset that they lost. You
yeah.
know what I mean? But like if teams like if like even like let's say Celtic or like Maccabi Haifa or any of those teams put up that same performance against Bayern, they'd be over the moon and they wouldn't even care that they lost. Whereas we still care. We're comparing ourselves to very, very high level teams and leagues all the time. And I think that we've got to this is so annoying to say because I don't like I really I don't like dropping the expectations that much, but we do have to kind of compare ourselves to leagues that are equally as good as ours at the moment. The Portuguese league, you know, um, who else?
Look,
Belgian
Israel has the
league,
highest.
yeah. Sorry.
Israel has the highest, 5. No one else has 5.
Okay, that's really weird. I wonder why that is.
Because they've just, I think all of they won all of the things. But I get what you're saying, and I think maybe you are right about that. Maybe we're more comparable to these and don't have as high expectations.
No, 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 no. Hang on, hang on. You're going way too far down. You're comparing it to Serbia, Greece, Switzerland, and everything. That's not who I'm comparing ourselves to. I'm saying we should compare ourselves to Portugal first and foremost. They're the closest league to us. Then Belgium, Netherlands. I think Austria is a little bit overstated there, to be honest. I think that's probably because of Salzburg. Um,
Exactly. See, that's also what I want to talk about. Is like these countries that we're comparing, that you want to compare us to, even if you go as far down as Greece and Turkey and all of them, and even Portugal or Belgium or the Netherlands or Austria. In the Netherlands you have Ajax, in Austria you have Salzburg, in Greece you have Olympiacos, who did very well in the Europa League last season, in Ukraine you have Shakhtar Donetsk. What I want to know is, why does Russia not have one of those? And what we also see sometimes is that we saw Bruges play against Real Madrid and very, very well last season. I know you're going to say CSK beat Real Madrid, but that was that was an extreme anomaly. But clubs
might have
like
happened twice.
yeah, it happened twice. That was extreme anomaly. Still, I don't care. But clubs like Salzburg or Austrian clubs and so on, they consistently or on a decently high amount of time, they are beating teams that they would have a you would say that they would have a hard time beating, because Las Clins beat Sporting from Portugal, let's say.
Yeah.
And if you go down the results, you'll find that these clubs can go. I think Salzburg did really, like, they reached like the semi-final or something of the Europa League a couple of seasons ago. So what you find is that even these countries, have at least either one club which is really overperforming, and even their clubs that aren't overperforming, that is just regular clubs, even they find ways to win. They find ways to win. They beat bigger teams. They at least beat the worst teams than them. But in Russia, for the past couple of seasons, we haven't been able to beat anyone.
No, look, but yeah, I completely agree with you, and I'm not sure why Russia doesn't. Well, the thing is, I'm kind of glad Russia doesn't have a team like that because it would mean that realistically the team is dominating in the league, and I don't want that either. The reason I said that, the leagues that I mentioned that we should compare Russia to, Portugal first and foremost. They have Porto, Benfica, Braga, Sporting Lisbon. Would you say Rio? Rio Ave?
No, no, I won't.
Okay, right. Let's say those four teams. Okay, they're comparable to the Russian top four. Like that's comparable. Like those teams, none of them are like okay, they're outperforming Russia in recent years, but they're not outperforming them on a level that like, let's say Ajax get into the semi-finals of the Champions League are. You know what I mean? That's why I
Yeah,
think
they are
Portugal and
the
Russia are quite closely comparable. And I know I just said Netherlands and I said Ajax got to that far, but Ajax like the Netherlands still have a couple of good teams as well. They've got Feyenoord, they've got PSV. I never said that we should compare it to Ukraine because Ukraine is just a look. I like Shakhtar. I like Dynamo. I like when they do. I like when they do well in Europe. I like when Ukrainian teams do well, but that league is ridiculous. Shakhtar win every year, and it's like I don't want Russia to be compared to the Ukrainian league ever. I didn't say we should compare them to Scotland. I didn't say Austria because there's essentially one league in there, one team in that league. Belgium, I think, is a little bit more level. They've got Club Brugge, they've got Genk, Ghent. Over the years, there's a couple of other teams, Anderlecht, that have been up there. They're not at the same level as Russia, but I'd say that Portugal are, slightly above, and Belgium are slightly below, just as the coefficients say there. And I think that we should compare ourselves more to those teams and try to really, really, really outperform those, and kind of base that as
that's
our
exactly.
comparison.
See, even by the way, I think side note, but I think I disagree. I think if Russia had the chance to get a team like Salzburg or Shakhtar, I would take it in a jiffy. I don't care if
No
that means
way,
that
zero
I would
chance.
take it. I would
Hey,
take
so
it.
hang on,
I
hang on,
don't.
hang on. Let's say tomorrow, uh, that Red Bull deal comes in for UFA, you'd take that. You'd want it in the league. And let's say for the
Yeah, of
next
course I would.
five years time and into eternity, Russia is dominated by one team, RB UFA.
Sure,
You would take that.
I would take it given the fact. I mean, I would take it with the assumption that the other clubs aren't pillaged. Like like they don't all die. Like
No,
there's
look,
even if UFA win the league, even if UFA win the league for the next 5 years with a point difference of like 7 to 8, and they dominate the league each year, and they do really really well in Europe compared to how teams are doing. But we still have
I
a
wouldn't
second
take that.
track with Zenit, Krasnodar, and them. I would take it in the jiff. I don't have any issues with that. I would like it. I would love it.
I wouldn't
But
take it.
yeah,
I would not take it. I
apart from that,
really like if there's one thing that always pulled me in as a Russian football fan foremost. Like before a Zenit fan, before anything else, I was always a fan of Russian football. And one of the things that I loved about that league so much was like I think there was like a 4 year period in like the early 2010s where there was four different winners of the league. Like one of the most interesting things about the Russian league is that it's not the same team winning all the time. Even this year, everybody predicted Zenit are going to win it easy. This is the year that Zenit are going to win it easy. Like there's no one else to even challenge them. Lokomotiv and Nikolic now, and they don't have Somin, and Spartak are still not doing great under Tedesco. I love the fact that the Russian league is so unpredictable and who's going to win. I like as much as I'm a Zenit fan, I want us to win this season, and I hope that we will win the league this season. I'm really happy that Spartak are at the challenge.
yeah, that's true. I mean,
I would
I
hate
love the
nothing more.
competitive nature. I love the
Yeah,
competitive nature. But even like you say, with let's
but
consider.
hang on. Like if you told me that Russia would be, like they wouldn't perform greatly in Europe as they would in this UFA Red Bull scenario, I would take the scenario we have now over um over what you would prefer. Like I really would prefer that the Russian league stays competitive and the league grows together than one team, takes charge and the other teams kind of either have to follow or fall off.
See, now that's completely fair. I don't have an issue with that. I don't know if I necessarily agree. Let us know what you guys think in the comments and stuff. But like you say, you would have this current scenario. And what I want to know is when you compare yourself to Portugal, when you compare yourself to Belgium, Netherlands, they have a few teams, like you said, right? They have Belgium has a nice sort of fight all the time between Benfica, Porto, and sometimes Sporting. In the Netherlands, PSV, AZ, Alkmaar, Ajax, these guys are there. Austria last season, last were there, but not really. We can leave that to Salzburg. Belgium has its own clubs. Even like these guys, they have their own clubs. What I want to know is every single one of those clubs that I've named have done better consistently in Europe than Russian clubs have. And I want to know why that is. And I want to know why Russian clubs, why we can't have a scenario where we at least have a couple of results or at least one team in Europe that goes far. Like the last, I can CSK have been holding it down 17-18. They reached the Europa League quarterfinals, right? Then the next season they beat Real Madrid. But apart from that, there is very little to get happy about when it comes to Russian football, to the point where we're getting excited and getting happy at Lokomotiv losing just 2-1 to Bayern, when we've seen clubs like Ajax have competition domestically, but also reach the semi-final of the Champions League, where we've seen clubs like the other ones I named. Benfica got far in the Europa League a couple of seasons ago. And I want to know is why can't Russia in Europe? Because I know for a fact that the Russian league is comparable commercially in terms of money and all of that to these leagues. It makes more money. It's like the sixth or seventh biggest money maker in all of Europe. I want to know what happens in Europe, in European football, that we just can't even compare with the big teams from any other country basically.
I do think the winter break is one of the big things. Particularly when it comes to the later stages of the Champions League and the Europa League. For example, one of the scariest things I find every year is when a team has gotten through the group stages of those competitions and then has to play, I don't know, any team that's on level with them. Let's just say it's happened before a couple of times where Zenit have,
Yeah,
come out of the winter break and their first game is Benfica. Okay.
yeah,
I hate those games
yeah,
because you're coming out of a winter break where Russian teams haven't played for 3 months, and the only thing they've had is the last 3-4 weeks they've been preparing in Dubai or like anywhere else in those kind of Middle Eastern countries or anywhere warm. Um,
yeah.
it's not the same. Like it's not
Hmm.
the same level of football you're playing. The players are never match fit for those games. I think that the winter break is one of the biggest killers for Russian football.
Right.
Always, every year. I think that the limit isn't far behind that.
See, that's the one. That's the one. That's the one I wanted to ask you about because the only discernible difference I can find in the league structures and the rules in all of these leagues, going from Spain all the way to Ukraine, have a foreigner limit, but like you said, they're being carried by Shakhtar Donetsk, who have like 15 Brazilians, right? So you can't include them. But all of these other leagues, except Serbia, but most of them, the vast majority of them, don't have such a hard, stupid foreigner limit. So do you think the foreign limit is the reason then for this failure in Europe?
No, I don't think so. I don't think it's the main reason. Like I said, the winter break for me is the main reason. Um, I think that the foreigner limit definitely contributes. It doesn't help the fact that we can only use a certain amount, or we have to use a certain amount of Russian players in the league, and then you know that means that we can't use. That basically means that your team can't fulfill its full potential because you can't bring in better players from abroad. But I think that I think that if you had a team, even with the old foreigner limit, let's say you had to play the foreigner limit in Europe too, I think the teams would still perform better if the group stages were, or sorry, if the early knockout rounds were in any part of the season besides just after the winter break. Like if they were in mid March, mid April, or even before Christmas, I think that Russian teams would do substantially better. Like I genuinely think that the winter break is the biggest killer. I think that the limit definitely contributes, but I don't think it's the number one reason. Like there's been times where you know, like Russian teams can clearly compete with these big teams. Like like let's say Lokomotiv and Bayern this week, they can clearly compete with these big teams. Imagine they were able to put in that performance against teams that were the same kind of level as them after the winter break, but they're not going to be able to because they're not match fit. They haven't been playing against opponents
And they
that.
can't get through to the knockout rounds. That's another.
No, but okay, but let's say in the scenarios where they do, that's what we're saying. We're
Yeah,
saying
no,
that
that
there's
I completely agree
although
with. I completely agree with that.
like you were saying mainly Ajax was the one that you brought up of why can't the Russian teams go that far? They probably wouldn't be able to go that far anyway But you could see a Zenit or someone else getting through the quarterfinal Champions League if there was no winter break. You could see it happening once every 5 or 10 years, easily. But it doesn't happen because they're just not match fit. They're not ready.
Yeah,
That's my opinion.
that's fair. But I just the foreign limit I think might be one reason. I think one reason is just how wretched Russian clubs' luck is with all these stupid injuries. I said that Russian players and RPL players will be in tip-top fitness for 46 weeks of the year, but for the remaining 6 weeks they'll just turn into glass structures, just all get injured. Maybe that's one major reason because every time Russian clubs have some like 5 players out or whatnot, that always happens. Maybe it's some mental thing where they just fail. All 3 games you can find, well, not all three, maybe in 2 of the games this week you can find examples where basically the teams lost the game because of their own silly preventable errors. And honestly, I just want to see something to write home about in Russian football when it comes to Europe, because every single nation, I at least in the top 18, has something in the past 3 to 4 years that they can write home about and they can be really proud about. But the closest example that Russia has is Real Madrid losing 4-0 to CSK. All of those countries have had a team which has gone far or which has done really well, which has exceeded expectations, which has reached the knockout rounds, held their own. And all of them have their varied issues. I just want to see that with Russia, honestly, is my thing.
Well, maybe this season's the season that we see it.
I hope it is because it would be great if it is. We have had some results. We have there are some promising factors, and
I
CSK.
honestly, what would you prefer? Would you prefer, okay, let's just say one Russian team. If you could take one Russian team and put them into the like the later stages of the UEFA tournament, be it Champions League or Europa League, who would it be out of the four that earn it now?
Krasnodar with their full 11.
Krasnodar.
Yeah,
Would you have them in the Champions League or the Europa League? What would you prefer them to be in?
Europa League.
Europa League. Yeah, I get that.
No, I think. Listen, I think what I said when we did the draw stream was that Russia needs to have at least one club in the Champions League round of 16 at the very least, and if that doesn't happen, Russia needs to have every single team that is qualified for the group stages. It needs to reach the knockout rounds. We're underperforming. I don't care if we're inferior. We're still underperforming because I think the quality of the overall league might be lower. But even the Netherlands and stuff, they're doing respectably well in every single. I mean, I just think Russia it's grossly underperforming. Even if we are, say, a team that should be even in like the 12 to 15 bracket, I think Russia is underperforming if Lokomotiv, Krasnodar, CSK, and Zenit don't reach the knockout rounds. I think they have more than enough quality in their sides.
Mm.
But
I get you.
Jesus, that was a long segment. If you're still listening, by the way, we love you. We love you a lot. Thanks a lot for bearing with us. Let us know what you think. And to finish off, we have Europa League tonight. We have Dinamo Zagreb.
Europa League. The
Thank you.
Europa League.
No, please.
The Europa League. The Europa League.
I'm going to make a clip out of that, and that's going to be our teaser for today. It might take me a long time to do it, but it's still going to be our teaser for today. But CSK played Dinamo Zagreb today. What do you think is going to happen, Artem? I'm not confident, I'll be honest.
Nah, me neither. I gotta say 1-1. If they do any better than that, then great.
Yeah, see, even Croatia have Dinamo Zagreb. They have like that Orsic guy who keeps banging in goals and stuff.
Nah, but like Dinamo Zagreb are not the teams that we like. Dinamo Zagreb are like they're in the Europa League for a reason.
Yeah, I know.
They
I
they
don't
wouldn't
know.
they wouldn't really have a chance against any of the other, in my opinion, Russian teams that are in Europe, except for CSK.
I think they'd beat them, honestly. Just given how Russian they shouldn't have a chance, but they will, and I think they would beat them. That's me being pessimistic though. And I think CSK, by the way, if they might be. I hope they aren't, but their group contains Feyenoord and Zagreb, and they drew to Wolfsburger, and that was a stupid draw as well. Victor Vassen, the fucking idiot, gave away a penalty. Again, see, it's us letting ourselves down again. It's just so consistent, that team. But you got anything else to discuss, Artem?
Uh, nah, you've really depressed me throughout this podcast.
You know what? My heart was almost in my mouth because I thought for a second that I hadn't actually pressed the record button, but I have. So, uh, anyway, right. So we don't have anything else to discuss. We'll be back next week. We've depressed each other. And follow us on Sportrex on YouTube, on our Twitter accounts, and we'll see you next week.